Heat wave alert, 62 million in danger as triple-digit temps hit the South and Midwest. A scorching heat wave is engulfing over 62 million Americans, with temperatures soaring into triple digits across the South and Midwest, so severe that even the heat-resistant are at risk. But here's where it gets critical. This isn't just a summer fluke. A strengthening heat dome over the Mississippi and Ohio valleys is baking states from Kansas to Mississippi, with heat indexes as high as 115 degrees Fahrenheit predicted. Cities like New Orleans, Memphis, and Chicago are under alerts, while Mobile and Pensacola may shatter records. The National Weather Service warns of high confidence that temperatures will hit dangerous levels, especially Tuesday through Thursday, threatening anyone without cooling or hydration. Even the Northeast isn't immune, with heat peaking Friday. But what's driving this? Climate change, says Climate Central. Nearly half the U.S. faces extreme heat 3 times more often due to human activity. Officials urge hydration, sunscreen, and indoor retreats. Meanwhile, torrential rains threaten flash floods in the Southwest, Midwest, and Minnesota/Wisconsin, with monsoon storms risking sudden deluges over burn-scarred areas. Duluth and Albuquerque, recently flooded, are on high alert. Severe storms could hit 11 million people by Wednesday. The controversy asterisk: while scientists blame climate change, critics argue individual actions, like AC use, worsen the issue. Do you think the U.S. is doing enough to combat heat-related disasters? Share your thoughts. Catherine Prosiv, senior meteorologist, and Marlene Lenthag, breaking news reporter, NBC News. Heat dome crisis. Midwest and South face extreme heat index up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine waking up to a heatwave that's so intense, it feels like you're walking into a furnace every time you step outside. This is the harsh reality that millions of people in the United States are facing as a new heat dome settles in, bringing with it record-breaking temperatures and humidity levels that are off the charts. As we enter the peak of summer, the country is bracing itself for a heatwave that will affect nearly 60 million people, stretching from the Gulf Coast to the plains, and all the way up to the Midwest. But here's the thing, this heatwave is not just a minor inconvenience, it's a matter of life and death. Heat remains the deadliest form of extreme weather in the U.S., and globally, heatwaves are becoming more frequent, more severe, and longer-lasting due to fossil fuel-driven climate change. So, where will the heat be the worst? Let's take a closer look. Cities like Chicago, St. Louis, and Memphis, Tennessee, are expected to reach their highest temperatures of the year, with heat indices soaring into the triple digits. In fact, the heat index, also known as the apparent temperature, will be so high that it will feel like it's over 110 degrees in some areas. But what's even more alarming is that the heat will linger overnight, with temperatures barely dipping below 80 degrees in some areas. This is particularly concerning because nighttime temperatures are supposed to provide relief from the heat, allowing our bodies to cool down. However, due to climate change, nighttime temperatures are warming faster than daytime highs, making it harder for people to recover from the heat. The heat dome will expand to the Midwest on Wednesday, and by Thursday, it will stretch from the South through the Midwest, and even start to push into the East. Cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Cincinnati will come close to matching their hottest day of the year so far, with expected highs in the 90s. And by Friday, the East Coast will feel the full force of the heat wave, with high temperatures in the middle to upper 90s and a heat index of 100 degrees or more possible for cities like Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston. But here's where it gets controversial. While some people may argue that heatwaves are just a natural part of summer, the reality is that climate change is making these events more frequent and more severe. And this is the part that most people miss: the impact of heatwaves on vulnerable populations, such as the elderly, young children, and those without access to air conditioning or proper hydration. So, what can we do to stay safe during this heatwave? The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recommends staying indoors during the hottest parts of the day, drinking plenty of water, and taking cool showers or baths to bring down your body temperature. But for those without access to these basic necessities, the heat can be deadly. As we look to the future, it's clear that August will likely be another hot month for much of the country, according to the Climate Prediction Center's latest forecast. Cities that are already baking could continue their hot streak, while other places that have escaped the worst could still warm up a bit in the latter part of summer. So, the question is, what can we do to mitigate the effects of heatwaves and climate change? Should we be investing more in renewable energy, increasing funding for heatwave relief efforts, or implementing policies to protect vulnerable populations? Let us know what you think in the comments. One thing is certain though, the heat is on, and it's time for us to take action. Kansas City faces extreme heat, triple-digit temperatures ahead. Imagine stepping into an oven set to 107 degrees. That's the brutal reality facing Kansas City residents, as a historic heat wave locks the Midwest in its grip. For the first time since August 25, 2023, temperatures here could shatter the 100 degrees Fahrenheit barrier, with meteorologists warning this won't be a fleeting crisis. But here's what makes this especially alarming. The oppressive humidity will make it feel up to 12 degrees hotter than the actual temperature, creating potentially life-threatening conditions. AccuWeather experts confirm this heat dome, a massive high-pressure system trapping hot air like a lid, could linger through much of August. Senior meteorologist Chad Merrill notes Kansas City hasn't seen triple-digit heat in nearly 2 years, while Tom Kynes warns Wednesday through Sunday pose the highest risk. The National Weather Service has escalated warnings through Thursday evening across eastern Kansas and western Missouri, cautioning that heat indexes could hit 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, here's the controversial angle many overlook. While extreme heat isn't new, climate scientists increasingly link these intensifying patterns to broader environmental shifts. This event exposes how even prepared cities struggle when infrastructure faces prolonged stress, a concern as heat domes become more persistent. Emergency protocols urge frequent hydration, air-conditioned shelter, and neighbor check-ins, particularly for outdoor workers and vulnerable populations. Yet critics argue such measures are reactive band-aids rather than long-term climate adaptations. Do you think cities are doing enough to mitigate these escalating threats? The immediate forecast offers little reprieve, with nighttime temperatures barely dipping into the 70s, denying usual relief windows. Authorities emphasize this isn't just discomfort. The heat risk map flags major health system impacts for anyone without adequate cooling. If you're in the affected zone, limit outdoor activity to dawn/dusk hours and recognize heat exhaustion signs like dizziness or nausea. As this dome could park over the central U.S. for weeks, one urgent question remains. Are we treating these events as temporary inconveniences rather than the new normal our infrastructure must address?